Allison, there's a lot to the case itself, but what I'm interested in is and unfortunately, we have too many of these cases in this country. We're a big country and a lot of bad things happen. But of all the cases out there, what attracted you to this one to get involved very early on and be as supportive as you were to the family?
Well, I had a friend who's a very famous criminal defense lawyer that lives in Mississippi, and I didn't know he was involved yet. So I will say, but that is sort of how I got to meet the family. That's a difficult thing to do as an investigative journalist, especially before a trial, because they don't want to do anything that might impact the case. I was interested because it just struck me initially that the one of the defendants that they had arrested was mentally challenged. And there had been some misconduct as far as I was concerned. When I heard about it, I spoke to the defense attorney first. He may have been involved. I believe he was involved in the end after watching the whole trial, but the way they went about it, he was arrested on a federal charge. That a weapons charge that was a little dicey. He didn't really have the weapon. His friend had the weapon. And then they used that. He went home, got out on bail, and was watched by somebody in law enforcement. He was living with them, and they got him to confess. He came back, but he was simple. He had a lot of challenges. And I thought, oh, okay, now we're looking at something that's some sort of misconduct. That doesn't mean somebody's not guilty. It just means that I thought that the process there was something sneaky about the process and something not quite legal about the process is what I thought. And sometimes I look for that. It just was especially after I had been in Tennessee in another case where the district attorney had been engaged in a lot of prosecutorial misconduct. So that kind of caught my eye. And it doesn't mean, and I'll say this, that prosecutor, it seemed like that prosecutor had to go the extra mile and not do things by the book, even when they had the evidence. So that it was troubling, but nonetheless, that's sort of caught my eye at first. And I went through all different kinds of feelings on that case when I come to investigate or to write my stories. And I actually was working for ABC at the time, but I thought about writing about it. I try to just keep an open mind. Whoever got arrested may not be guilty. Whatever happened might be wrong. I try to not make assumptions because that's not my role. And it caught me, I think, too, because the girl was 20 and my daughter was interested in nursing, blonde, blue eyed. It hit me as a parent.
Sure.
And that doesn't happen that often because I generally can sort of compartmentalize, but this was just so random and she was so innocent. And it had nothing to do with her. I mean, it turned out to be people in the neighborhood who had drug problems, including the young man that wasn't sort of properly, his confession had some issues for me. And the other thing that intrigued me was that the guy that was cooperating with the authorities was probably the guy that killed the defendant that was cooperating. He wasn't a defendant. The guy three men were charged. And the guy that ended up being the cooperating witness, he was the first one to take a deal. He was the guy I thought orchestrated everything. And he was pure evil. And
Hmm.
that was a very rare thing for me to say.
Hmm.
Wow. When I listened to him in court, he was a complete sociopath. The jury laughed with him against the defense attorney. He was clever and amusing and told a good story, and he clearly was the ringleader. And it was just, but my interest was piqued by the characters involved, but also by some of the legal issues that case presented. And then on a personal level, it hit me a little in my heart.